It's Monday, April 27th, and this is now on H&N.
The city resumes homeless enforcement during the pandemic, while the governor extends the stay-at-home order and quarantine for travelers.
This is only the beginning of a long, careful process.
A dozen states are now easing restrictions on non-essential businesses. I'm Elise Preston in New York, where there are new signs of hope in the battle against the coronavirus.
You have to be smart about it.
Uncertainty surrounding the health of Kim Jongun. I'm Ian Lee with how North Korean media is responding.
I think the report was incorrect. Let me just put it that way.
These stories, plus the CDC adds a number of new possible COVID-19 symptoms that you'll want to know about. Coming up on This Is Now. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for watching This Is Now. I'm Jonathan, your director-producer, alongside Ashley here. We want to begin this morning with new numbers from the State Department of Health. Unfortunately, they are reporting another death from the coronavirus.
Health officials have confirmed Hawaii's 16th death related to COVID-19. We're told it's an older Oahu woman who may have been infected by an out-of-state guest and that she died a few days ago. Late last night, DOH also confirmed Hawaii's 15th fatality. Officials say that patient passed away yesterday. He was an older Oahu man with underlying health conditions. They say he was hospitalized in early March and his infection was presumed to be from community spread. Meanwhile, the health department is reporting just one new positive COVID-19 case today. That patient is on Maui. The statewide total now stands at 607 and 493 of those patients have been released from isolation so far.
All right, thanks for that update. Well, this weekend we learned that we're going to be staying at home one more month with that state mandate continued and or extended till May 31st. While the governor is relaxing some restrictions, he said we could use the beaches again this weekend. He's also limiting the powers of the county mayors, and that's getting a lot of reaction. We got Ben Gutierrez who filed this report.
This is only the beginning of a long, careful process, and we will be in constant discussions with the counties, the legislature, and community leaders as we develop our plans.
Part of the discussion, according to Ige, is language that he says will facilitate coordination between the state and the counties. In other words, he must approve any new rules from the county mayors.
I also recognize that the counties need the flexibility to implement measures that take into consideration the unique needs of their respective communities.
Honolulu Mayor Kirk Caldwell sent an email to the governor saying in part that the added step will affect the city's ability to act quickly and deliberately during this crisis. His Gardner counterpart also has his concerns.
The counties are going to have the ability to put in protective measures if we see that sort of second surge that people are worried about once economies start reopening slowly.
But Kawakami, who imposed stricter measures on Kauai ahead of most of the state, says he's reassured that the governor will approve any new measures quickly. The state Senate president, who represents Kauai County, has praise for Kawakami.
He has been fantastic. He has been clear. I hope that this does not impede his ability to make sure he can do the best for the people of Kauai and Ni'ihau.
The governor is allowing exercise on state beaches, including walking, jogging, and running. He also says elective medical procedures can also resume since the healthcare system is able to handle the current levels of COVID-19.
We are flattening the curve. However, my greatest fear is that if we move too quickly to reopen, we will see a sudden surge in new cases that would result in overrunning our healthcare system and more deaths.
Now, there are also changes to visitor arrivals. All arriving passengers are now required to have their temperatures checked. They must also provide a valid personal phone number as well as a phone number for their place of lodging. Officials say all of this information will be verified before the passenger is allowed to leave the airport. Travelers must also sign a legal document indicating they are aware of the mandatory order.
All right, happening right now at the state capitol, there's another meeting unfolding, and this is state lawmakers talking about how the economy will reopen, trying to brainstorm some ideas or giving updates and briefings there. Chris Tatum, CEO of HTA, just spoke about how the lodging industry is planning for the reopening.
You know, we know there's going to have to be a pretty comprehensive recovery plan. There are a number of organizations coming up with new ideas. We've got best practices that we've received from multiple states on what they're doing. We're a little unique because of our isolation and depending primarily on the airlines. So nothing definitive right now. Our hope is the recovery task force that the governor is putting together he'll have a collaborative program to bring everyone together on making sure that we get input from all the stakeholders and develop a plan that, number one, keeps us safe, and then begins a process of recovery.
Meanwhile, the city and county of Honolulu resumed homeless enforcements this morning. Crews were out in Kalihi, clearing encampments along Dillingham Boulevard. Officials had postponed sweeps last month following CDC guidelines that homeless camps should not be removed unless housing units are available. But now the city has a small tent village near Kehi Lagoon for homeless individuals to safely quarantine themselves. Earlier this month, officials said they would start enforcements with a 24-hour notice because they are concerned that social distancing isn't happening in encampments. Meanwhile, nationally, the U.S. nears 1 million COVID-19 cases as more states assess plans to reopen their economies. Elise Preston reports from New York.
A parade in North Carolina honored doctors and nurses on the front lines of the coronavirus fight as state lawmakers in South Carolina called on their governor to reopen salons and barbershops.
We can take a safe and measured approach to opening up businesses and getting back to work.
In Georgia, Governor Brian Kemp allowed restaurants and theaters to reopen Monday after gyms, barbershops, and hair salons resumed business last week.
We're trying to stagger our clients and not just load them in here so there's not so many people in here at one time. We can practice good social distancing.
At least 12 states, including Georgia, Arkansas, and Tennessee, are easing restrictions on non-essential businesses.
Here in New York City, the mayor announced new self-swab testing sites to increase the number of tests that can be done per day.
The daily death toll in the state finally dropped below 400 Sunday, but New York Governor Andrew Cuomo extended stay-at-home orders past May 15th for many regions.
You could make the case that we should unpause on May 15th. But you have to be smart about it.
Preliminary testing results of more than 7,000 New Yorkers suggest close to 15% have COVID-19 antibodies, but it's still unclear whether those who have been infected could contract the virus again. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
All right, President Trump is holding a task force briefing right now. I just pulled a little bit of sound from it because he was talking about the reopening of the nation's economy. Let's listen to what he had to say.
We also stand in solidarity with the thousands of Americans who are ill and waging a brave fight against the virus. We're doing everything in our power to heal the sick and to gradually reopen our nation and to safely get our people back to work. They want to get back to work, and they want to get back to work soon. There's a hunger for getting our country back, and it's happening faster than people would think. Ensuring the health of our economy is vital to ensuring the health of our nation. These goals work in tandem. They work side by side. It's clear that our aggressive strategy to slow the spread has been working and is saving countless lives.
All right, that's President there speaking from the task force briefing outside the White House just moments ago.
Now, rumors continue to swirl surrounding the health of North Korean dictator Kim Jongun. He's been missing from the public eye for 2 weeks now, raising concerns over his condition and what that could mean for the country. But today, North Korean media relayed a message from their leader. Ian Lee reports.
Where is North Korean leader Kim Jong-un? That's the question many people are asking.
And my guess is there's probably something wrong with his health.
It may not be proof of life, but on Monday, North Korean state TV relayed a message from Kim thanking workers building a resort. Kim was a no-show at 2 recent events, adding to speculation that he had a botched surgery a few weeks ago. He's known to be obese and believed to be a heavy smoker and drinker. President Trump commented on the health rumors.
I think the report was incorrect. Let me just put it that way.
Recent satellite images appear to show Kim's train at his compound on the country's East Coast, suggesting he could be there. But don't expect an immediate answer, says Professor Robert Kelly, a political analyst and expert on North Korea.
But I think if he was dead, I don't know if they would come forward and tell us yet. There'd probably be a sort of shuffling behind the scenes to figure out who's in charge.
A likely successor could be his younger sister, Kim Jongun.
The problem there is that North Korea is pretty reactionary, quite honestly, when it comes to gender norms. And so there's a lot of discussion about whether or not the old guard in North Korea would accept the ascension of a female.
Another big question, if Kim does pass away, what does that mean for the country's nuclear weapons? Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Meanwhile, Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson is back at work after a bout with coronavirus and is strongly warning against easing the country's lockdown, even as other nations and U.S. states begin lifting their restrictions to get their economies going again. Italy and New York are seeing encouraging signs in some of the latest figures on the outbreaks there, but New York has taken the unprecedented step of its canceling its Democratic presidential primary in June.
All right. Jonathan Coelho was just 32 years old when he died last week of cardiac arrest due to coronavirus. He was hospitalized, but the Connecticut man still had time to write a final love letter to his family. His wife shared that love letter with CBS's David Bagnod, and he filed this report.
Jonathan Coelho spent the last 27 days of his life at a Connecticut hospital fighting to live. He died alone. He wrote a note to his wife, Katie, on his cell phone. And Katie got it after he died when hospital staff gave her Jonathan's belongings. Jonathan had written the note to Katie and their 2 kids. To his 2-year-old son, Braden, who has special needs, Jonathan wrote, "Tell him he's my best bud and I'm proud to be his father." To his 4-month-old daughter, Penelope, he wrote, "Let her know she's a princess and she can have whatever she wants in life." And to his wife, Katie, he thanked her for giving him the best life he could ask for. And then he said this: "If you meet someone, don't hold back, because if they love you and the kids like I do, then I love that for you."
You think he knew?
I think he did. I think he was scared. That was written the day before, the few hours actually before he was intubated, and we were still texting and communicating during this time. You don't fight for 28 days and think that you're not gonna come home. So I don't think he gave up, but I think he knew that if it was gonna be that bad, that I wasn't gonna be able to talk to him again, and he knew that I would need something. And my kids are so young and they're not going to know their dad or remember their dad. So we're going to have to share with them what a great person he was. And I think he wanted them to hear from him how much he loved them and how much he cared about them.
So beautiful that I hope you have what he wrote to you etched in some kind of stone or artwork and hung somewhere, because those are his final words written to you.
Yeah, and his best man at our wedding found my husband's wedding vows. He had emailed to him the day of our wedding, which I haven't seen or heard since the day we got married. And he sent them to me, and seeing the words he said the first day we became husband and wife, and then the last words he said to me, it just echoed how much the love had just increased. And it was just so, you could see from start to finish, my husband worshipped us. And I'm so thankful I have those words, but they're also very haunting because they're all I have left.
More than $800,000 has been donated by strangers through a GoFundMe page for Katie and her family. Jonathan Coelho survived childhood cancer twice. Katie says the doctors told her they were convinced he was going to recover. In fact, the doctors had said at one point, according to Katie, that he was clear of the virus in his lungs. But COVID-19 had wrecked his most vital organs. And one of the most haunting things was after our interview, Katie had to start putting the kids down to bed. A reminder that life moves on, with her being a widow and now a single mom. David Begnaud, CBS News, New York.
And very heartbreaking story there. And imagine, with the death toll now over 50,000, there's countless families going through the same thing across the country right now.
And people of all ages, clearly.
Yeah, he was so young. So young.
Beat cancer twice, too. Wow.
Glad she got a hold of those final words, though, and those vows. That was very sweet of her former best man.
Yep.
All right, moving on. New symptoms to talk about that the CDC is releasing.
That's right. 6 new possible symptoms of COVID-19 have been added to the CDC's list. The original list only had fever, cough, and shortness of breath, but now chills, repeated shaking with chills, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, and a sudden loss of taste or smell are now included. This expanded list will allow more people to get tested because many testing sites require you to have symptoms first. And the World Health Organization says there's no evidence that people who have recovered from COVID-19 are protected from reinfection. Now, South Korean health officials found 268 patients tested positive after it was thought that they had recovered. Now, CBS News senior medical correspondent Dr. Tara Narula looks at whether the virus can be reactivated.
Colorado nurse practitioner Lisa Merck first tested positive in March. On day 21 of isolation, she got good news.
Well, your test was negative.
But just 7 days later, she got a retest. Merck was once again positive for COVID-19.
Do you feel like you got infected twice with coronavirus, or do you feel like that test that came back negative was a false negative?
I feel like the test that came back was a false negative.
Viral PCR tests based on nose and throat swabs like these are reliable about 60 to 90% of the time, depending on the test.
Can people get COVID twice?
So I don't think we know the answer to that yet.
Dr. Stanley Perlman has been studying coronaviruses like SARS and MERS for nearly 40 years. Just like with MERS, Dr. Perlman believes more severe COVID-19 symptoms may mean longer-lasting immunity.
So this disease, we think that you will be protected at least for some amount of time, especially if you had pneumonia. If you have only the upper airway infection, you may get infected again.
What do you make of the Korean CDC saying that coronavirus may in fact be reactivating in people who they initially thought were cured?
Yeah, the question is whether it really is reactivation or it's low-level infection that was not detected for a period of time and now is detected.
With COVID-19, the World Health Organization says we need more evidence about how effective the antibodies are and how long immunity will last. Dr. Tara Narula, CBS News, New York.
Back here at home, there's an online petition urging Governor Ige to allow floral deliveries on Mother's Day. We're told florists were given an exemption to start taking orders last week, so they started purchasing flowers from around the world. But then permission to sell was abruptly rescinded the next day. Florists say they cannot cancel their orders and they're worried they will not be able to recover from the financial hit. They insist they will take the proper precautions while making their deliveries. Governor Ige says the person who granted permission for the sales did not have the authority to do so.
And I know you're working on that story for this evening, so we'll have to see how that all unfolds throughout the day. All right, let's move on to our checking in segment. It's where we check into about anyone and everyone across our community to see how they're doing during the state's shutdown. Today we talked to a local bar owner who literally opened her bar up 2 weeks before the stay-at-home order went into effect, and then was forced to shut it down, and is now making some adaptations to survive. All right, joining us now is Jasmine Mankos. She's the co-owner of Proof Social Club in downtown. Jasmine, how's it going?
It's going pretty well so far. We just reopened. We're doing kind of like a downtown local delivery. We're on Grubhub, DoorDash, all of that. We can do takeout. We can do takeout drinks finally, which is really exciting.
Tell us, what was your process? What happened when the stay-at-home order went into place, those social distancing restrictions? What did you initially decide to do as a business?
My business partner, Napua Camarillo, and I decided that we should kind of shutter operations indefinitely and see how long the stay-at-home order was going to last. We're mainly a bar. We have a kitchen here. We sell pizza, but it was a tough call, and we took the time to regroup and kind of restructure. our food menu, to limit food costs, to limit all of our costs, because it's pretty expensive to just keep the lights on and keep the staff in here. So unfortunately, we essentially got shut down on our busiest day of the year, which was St. Patrick's Day.
Because you guys were an establishment that never even imagined delivering or being considered a takeout place.
No, of course not. We would do a few phone orders, but that really wasn't our focus. Proof Social Club. The idea was this is a place for friends to gather and hang out with each other, catch up with the bartender, that kind of thing. So we really had to do a full pivot within the first month of owning our own business.
And then how exactly is that working now? What can people order? How do they order it?
So we're on DoorDash, Grubhub, Bite Squad. We're working right now to get on Uber Eats as well, in an effort to keep our staff on as much as we're able to right now. We're also offering a limited delivery zone, which will be done via bike, car, or foot.
So as far as assistance goes, did you apply for any of the government assistance, the loans? Was it difficult and was it confusing?
It wasn't terribly difficult or confusing, but we didn't get any of it. And we jumped on it as quickly as we could. We had our bookkeeper on a team Skype with us to read off our information. We applied as soon as we possibly could, and we still didn't get approved for any of the federal programs or grants. And honestly, it seems like every time that I find out about a statewide or local grant or loan program, by the time I go to apply, the money is gone already. So that's been a little bit frustrating, and why we're trying to, I think, shift our focus more to just building our business in this new model that we never could have anticipated.
All right, Jasmine, thanks for joining us. Hang in there.
Thank you.
Another example of just how so many people are probably going through the exact same thing there. I know we're going to talk to some other business owners and professionals later in this week, hairstylists, and just a bunch of other interviews we have in the works there. All right, it's time to get to some good news, folks. Some good medicine is what we call it, the time of the show where we bring you some positive news. We know we're all looking for that, right, Ashley?
That's right. My hometown mayor, Derek Kawakami, is sharing another activity you can do while in quarantine. He calls this bubble snakes.
Love this.
And that's bubble snake, folks, and this is another pretty, lightheaded. Head rush. So folks, this is another note. Don't try to go all out and blow that thing all at once, because you can get a mean head rush and get all dizzy. We don't want anybody fainting. So this is a disclosure. Do not do what I just did. Take a breath, blow it out, take another breath. Don't just, go all out.
Good advice.
So Mayor Kawakami says all you need is an empty plastic water bottle, pair of scissors, soap and water, and a sock. And like he said, don't forget to breathe.
Have you even seen some of his TikToks?
Oh, yeah.
Man, he's got moves.
Yep.
All right. We'll have to try that one out.
He is definitely developing a fan base.
Yeah, seriously. And it's good to show a little bit of fun and positive stuff out there in these times. All right, there's no shortage of there are some shortages of some ingredients on the shelves. You may have noticed that we're not talking about toilet paper and disinfectant, but baking products. Actually, I was looking for flour this weekend and couldn't find any.
Were you baking this weekend?
Attempting, and then decided not to.
Yeah, flour is important.
Yes. Nancy Chin talks about this boom in baking.
With the ever so popular hashtag quarantine baking, de-stressing has never looked so delectable. As hundreds of millions stop their usual routines, many of them are starting up the oven.
So this is my starter.
That includes Jeremy Conondike, a pandemic expert in Washington, D.C., who blows off steam baking sourdough.
Do you think that there's also a sense of nostalgia attached to this right now as well?
It brings a whole different kind of feel and smell to your home when you've got a loaf of bread in the oven.
Loaves are rising all over the country. Yeast sales were up 400% in the last month. Google searches for banana bread recipes have spiked fourfold. In Midland, Texas, Ina Abels has been in the kitchen every night.
I've made banana bread, zucchini bread, so we've got a lot of baked goods in the house.
Whether it's cookies, cakes, or banana bread, all this baking requires plenty of ingredients. Bags of flour are flying off the shelves, with companies trying to keep up with demand. Vermont-based King Arthur Flour says this time of year is usually when production starts winding down as people start spending more time outdoors. Instead, their mill is cranking.
We experienced in over the month of March probably double to triple our normal March, and we're definitely exceeding levels of baking that we would normally experience in the fourth quarter, which is the holiday baking season.
Bakers say it's not just about enjoying comfort food. It's also about having a sense of control during unpredictable times.
You make the choice of how much flour, how much water, how long do you let it rise, how many times do you stretch and fold, how long do you bake it. All of those things are under your control.
Rising dough and raising spirits at the same time. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
All right. Obviously, I was saying I tried to bake, didn't do it. You were saying you haven't had any
No,
baking?
not yet. I haven't done the baking yet.
Not that bored yet.
Yeah. But next time, tell me if you need flour. I got flour.
Okay, and you live right down the street.
Yeah, but then you have to give me whatever you make.
Our friends were saying, okay, cool idea. I don't know if anyone's already done this, but have you ever seen that show Nailed It, where they give you like a picture of something to make and then you have to make it? Wouldn't that be fun to do on Zoom or something? Like,
Yeah.
I'll send you a picture of a 5-layer cake, and then we both try to make it. And then we'll see how much better mine turns out.
Bring it on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Also, Nancy Chen, who just reported there, she's one of the stay-at-home reporters and doesn't look like she's left her. We've literally seen every angle of that woman's house.
She's a really nice apartment.
Yeah, she does. She's getting creative there with her shots. All right, guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now today on this Monday. Again, Ashley's working on a story with what's going on with the flower industry. That's going to be coming up today in our evening newscast. Any other updates that come out throughout the afternoon, you can get those on our newsletter. You just sign up on our digital platforms. But I wanted to leave you today, I'm going to pull it up here, with a little sound from Henry Capono.
Yes.
Who's trying to raise some money there for the Henry Capono Foundation. No one can go to Duke's anymore right now because of the stay-at-home order, so you can't get to see him there, but we can see him online, folks. Let me play that out for us now.
It's so nice to see friends of mine enjoying themselves, and everybody get happy, 'cause we can work it out. Everybody, we are friends. Friends, friends. We are friends. Friends, friends. And I remember when I was down and out, you came. I remember when you said, friend, hey, what's your name? You're getting off on each other. We can work it out. We are friends, friends, friends. We are friends, friends, friends. When feelings are getting strong and you feel like you belong, the closeness you can feel, the smiles that are real. We are friends. If you feel like singing with me, sing out loud, 'cause it'll make you feel good just to sing right out and be a part of it all. And we can work it out. Everybody, we are friends, friends, friends. We are friends, friends, friends. We are friends, everybody's friends, friends, friends. We are friends, whoa, whoa, friends, friends. We are friends, friends.